AEW Rampage and AEW Dynamite week commencing January 30th. As you know, we're in England, so we get it the week prior for Rampage. Firstly, could you like and subscribe to our channel? That would be so kind of you. Our channel is growing week by week, so jump on board. So Rampage basically starts with Wheeler Yuta versus Hangman Adam Page. Really hard fought match. Go and watch it. You haven't seen it, but in the end, Hangman won. Really good match. And then you had Action Andretti, and Ricky basically starts calling out Chris Jericho. They said they want a match against Chris Jericho. Ricky has beaten Chris Jericho and said he can do it again. So he said he will do whatever they want, but he just wants that match against Chris Jericho. Then we had Eddie basically calling out the House of Black, said he's ready to come home. So let's see what happens there. Then we had Jay Lethal and JJ and Singh versus the Best Friends and Danhausen. Really good match. Go and watch it. You haven't seen it, but Singh wins in the end. Then Britt Baker is in the back. She confronts Ruby, says, what side are you on? You got Saraya and Tony beating everyone up. You got us. Where are you going? Which side are you on? So we'll see what happens there. Then we had Hobbs versus some guy. Hobbs obviously squashes him. So we see what happens. They need to inject Hobbs into the TNT Championship or something. Let's start doing something with Hobbs. Then Top Flight are calling out the Elite and saying they're going to come with AR and they want a trios match. Let's see what happens there. Then you had Dustin Rhodes in the back saying he's been going through some tough times, but he's back. Then Swerve Strickland turns up, and he's just like, listen, we need to get rid of all this dead weight. You old timers, you're here taking up spotlight. You're in my spotlight. You're in my ring. I need to get rid of you. And he runs this place. So let's see what happens there. Then we had Red Velvet in the back, says she wants to face Jade Cargill. So we see what happens there. And then in the main event of Rampage, it was Jamie Hayter versus Emi Sakura for the AEW Women's title in a really good match. But in the end, Jamie Hayter is still your AEW Women's Champion. Then we move on to Dynamite. It started with a hellacious match. Jon Moxley and his dad come out. His dad was there for moral support. Goes against Hangman in an absolute near-fall, bananas, crazy match. Loads of near-falls, power matches, power moves, lariats, buckshots, paradigm shifts. But in the end, Jon Moxley won. A bloody Jon Moxley won. But it seems like Hangman Page wasn't too happy about that. Then basically in the back, Joe said he wants Darby and he's coming for Darby because that's the main event of the show. Then we had Saraya, and Tony beat down Britt, and Jamie Hayter was like, what's going on? To Jamie Hayter also accepted a match against the Bunny, so we'll see what happens there. Then we had the Acclaimed versus some guys. Obviously the Acclaimed won, and then the Gun Club come out, and they say they want a tag team title shot against the Acclaimed. But then Billy Gunn just goes, yeah, you can have the title shot, after having a back and forth with his son. I smell a setup here. But yeah, anyway. Then Jungle Boy said he's done the tag team stuff. He said him and Hook are cool, but he wants a singles title. So we'll see what happens. Then we had Tanoska. I'm butchering his name, I know. Versus Brian Cage in a really good match. But in the end, Tanoska, if that's how you pronounce his name, won. Then we had a JS call out Ricky Starks, basically saying if Ricky Starks wants to face Chris Jericho, he's going to have to go through a gauntlet match. So he's going to have to beat every single member of the JS. And in the last stage, before he can face Chris Jericho, he has to beat either Danny Garcia or Sammy Guevara. So it's going to be a long week, a long night for Ricky Starks. Then we had the Elite accept the match, as I said earlier, versus Top Flight and AR. So that would be a good match. But then the Elite was faced by Elijah, Ethan, and Matt Hardy. So they want a piece of that trio's action. So we'll see what happens there. Then we had Bryan Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher in a really good match. Timothy Thatcher is a submission specialist. MJF tried to interfere in the match, but Tanoska, I think that's how you pronounce his name, came down and basically fended him off. And in the end, Bryan Danielson won by the bicycle knee. Then we had MJF and Tanoska fighting in the back. And Tony Khan says, well, if them two want to fight, they can fight. So them two, he's made a match against MJF versus Tanoska next week on Dynamite. Then Goes to another segment. MJF pays Roosh to beat down Bryan Danielson. Pays him very handsomely. Hey, MJF, if you're paying anyone, give me the money because I need it. I will beat him down myself. But yeah, it looks like Roosh accepted. Then we had Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill for the TBS title in a really good match. Obviously, them two had tension every single week. But in the end, Jade Cargill wins. Then in the back, Britt Baker has obviously suffered a bit of a beatdown from Saraya and Tony. She's seen to by Ruby Soho, and Ruby Soho was asking her what happened, but Britt was like, I thought they're your girls. I thought you was to do with this. And she was like, they're not my girls. I'm here with you, talking to you now. So we will see what happens there. But then in the main event of the evening is Joe versus Darby Allin in a no-hold-barred match for the TNT title. Go and watch it. If you haven't seen it, it's a hard-hitting match. They're fighting in the crowd. They're fighting on the ceiling. They're fighting in the back. They're fighting everywhere. You got the mat that's been ripped off in the mat in the actual. The ring's been ripped off, showing the wood on the floor. Muscle busters on the floor on the actual wood. It's a really hardcore match. There's blood, but in the end, we have a new TNT champion, and that is the king of television. That is Samoa Joe. And after Joe won, he couldn't celebrate for long because then who turns up? Wardlow turns up and he wants that belt. So we will see what happens. But thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and take care.